Hello there everybody, welcome back to Tales of Gaming Addiction, right here as we continue with the F1 2020 My Team career mode. Going through the usual stuff, so we've already got our activity set up, we're just going to get our second driver trained up. Was debating about spending some time in the R&D departments, but then opted to spend it more on the tree, as that felt like that's where the improvements needed to go. But also we have a limited amount of funds, as you can see. We've only got 59,000. We are on the short end of things. So instead, we'll just pick up time. And then we get informed that we could have a second sponsor, which means a bit more dosh in the bank, which is something we desperately need. So jump over to the corporate tab. We then start arming and ahhing over sponsors. Now they all have their own separate weekly goals. Some of them are quite simple. So Carrerr there, as you can see, wants us to get some championship points as a team, complete a total of 75 laps during a race weekend. Certainly doable. I mean, that weekly income's great and that goal bonus is achievable. So just sorting these things out. Initially I sorted them by income, and then we start just going through them all. So achieve fastest lap during a race. I don't know if you have to win the race to achieve that, so that's why I was a bit dubious on that one. Overtake 15 different drivers. That's also quite doable, because I tend to pit stop quite early. Score 5 Constructors' Championship points. And in the end, I actually settled on XXY, these guys. Complete all practice programs in a weekend. Which is something I always do, because I enjoy driving the car, but also lets me know how the car feels. So it's an easy one to do. It gives us a nice little bit of overall income money. But I'll let you guys have a look at the rest of these as now we prepare for race day. And race day comes and we begin our qualifying setup, only to hit with a snag.
Sit rep, we've got a leak in the hydraulic system, so it's going to be a few minutes before we can get you out on track.
So, hydraulic problems in Q1, but that doesn't matter. Managed to get through Q1s and Q2s in a relatively quick set amount of time. So instead, let's go straight into Quali 3. So we blitz out onto the track. Bahrain, the dead of night, these spotlights, the scenery around here looks wonderful. If I could afford to, I'll definitely go out and check out the Bahrain circuit for a Grand Prix weekend. But here we go, Q3, made it through quite easily. I've reset the AI to a difficulty of 60 this time, so they should be more difficult. But we'll see how things go. So open up DRS and the lap time begins right now. Blitzing down the main straight, you can see our Delta's actually quite slow. And again, still playing on that controller, so my steering's going to be a bit all over the place. Completely missed the braking zone, go deep into turn 1. But give myself a nice better angle for turns 2 and 3. As we blitz up the main straightaway, or the second straight coming around to this fourth right-hander. Running a bit wide on exit. But as you can see, we've gained tons of time. Actually managed to get a purple first sector. Lift off a little bit for the second complex. Go through now into the very tight hairpin. Managed to go a little bit wide. Quite wide actually. Go completely off the circuit. So naturally we lose a bit of time there. This is an area of the circuit I've always struggled with anyway. Managed to nail this tight left-hander. I always either run wide or run too deep and cut the corner. So it's always nice to hear when this thing goes. In terms of a car setup, because I know some people want to know about these kind of things, I believe I went with like a 3-3 wings. So I was running with next to no downforce, so the straightaways I was unstoppable, and that corner complex is obviously where the car would start to struggle. But Bahrain has so much runoff and so wide anyway. Speed is king. So here we come now into the final corner, blitzing in at a whopping 180 miles an hour. Taking it nice and tight, constantly fighting with the controller, and across the line in a healthy P4. And then ending up P5 at the end of it, which is going to be an interesting start for the race. But again, the AI is set to 60, so clearly we need to set it higher for next time. But let's go ahead into Grand Prix.
again then at a circuit famous for its stunning visuals and thrilling battles for glory. Who will take the spotlight in the Bahrain Grand Prix today? There's no shortage of passing opportunities around the 3.36 miles of the Bahrain International Circuit, with the best at turn 1 of course, and then another soon into turn 4. 15 corners here, 6 to the left and 9 to the right, and we could see 1 or 2 flat spots into the tight left-hander of turn 10. And with me as usual is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we start by talking about Valtteri Bottas? That was a great win in the last race. Can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
There are never any guarantees in this business, but certainly the performance last time out would have boosted their confidence coming into this one.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position. And it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Hamilton, Bottas, Smith and Albon, Sainz, Norris, Ricciardo and Lance Stroll, Perez, Ocon, Daniel Kvyat and Gasly, Raikkonen, Vettel, Romain Grosjean and Antonio Giovinazzi, King, Magnussen, Russell and Nicholas Latifi. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside.
And here we go, 5 red lights out on the grid. Let's blitz on through, managed to make a good move on Bottas. Start to look up to the inside of Hamilton, managed to keep it tight to the inside. We should have a good run into turn 1, hit the brakes super hard. Try and keep it tight in. Domineer the line, try and he goes tight onto turn 2. We come into turn 3 and I noticed a little bit of wiggle. If you look in the bottom corner, we've got yellow flags out already, and that very concerned cyan dot then disappears off into the distance as Hamilton and Norris are both out of the session. So we have a safety car here, and I was curious what happened, so let's wind back the clock and see what goes on here. So we'll go on board with Hamilton first. As you can see, he comes up to the inside, he touches me, he tries to rejoin the track, he hits Bottas and then gets completely spun around. So let's see from the Norris cam in slow-mo. And as you can see, he hits the front of Bottas, completely takes out the front of Norris. This is again from the Hamilton point of view. So there you go, Norris's car is completely annihilated. And that is Daniel Ricciardo as well. I thought Ricciardo got taken out of this, but stay tuned because he does something weird and interesting. So that goes on for a good few laps. It comes to lap 4 when we can go racing again. And, well, we decided to go all out on this because we spent like 3 laps on lean mix and using no braking, and I completely pulls up turn 1. Trying to go super deep, try and take the lead, and almost take out Sainz, a similar way to Hamilton took us out earlier on. So instead, just got to keep our head down and keep on pushing. Right at the back there, you can see everyone's all bunched up beautifully. It's actually creating quite a few overtaking opportunities. Bottas is now trying to get away from the tracing points of Perez and Stroll. I had to think of his name for a second there. As we continue the chase for Leclerc. So we decide to pit early after this lap, and we come around to lap number 5 at the same corner to hear news of Max Verstappen going out. And I was curious as to what on earth happened. So this is him further up the road on that lap, and you can see smoke billowing out from the back of the engine. The engine itself does not sound very healthy. And as we come on by, there he is, parked up safely on the side of the road. No one to worry about overtaking, so we just keep our head down, keep on pushing, we just happily overtake everyone in the pit lane. And then we come to lap number 12, we're right near the end of this Grand Prix, and this bit I decided to leave uncut, as we've got Ricciardo and pole, Leclerc, then me, then Raikkonen and Sainz. But right now it's me and Leclerc. I'm jostling for second with Leclerc and his Ferrari right now. I'm able to keep onto the back of him for the longest time, and then we come down to the final lap, and I was on the edge of my seat for this. I could not believe how well the car was doing it. A difficulty I'm not used to playing on. So we go long into turn 1, managed to cut it deep into turn 2, keep Leclerc out for turn 3. So we open up the DRS, try and get some distance, use some of that battery, use some of the fuel we have saved up as well, because we barely had to touch it throughout the entire race. Push on hard to try and catch up to Daniel Ricciardo right now, who after the initial accident on turn 1 seems to have done really well. Obviously, had the same idea with me of pit early, switch to a different tyre compound, although I'm nearly one on hards right now. Everyone switched to mediums, which may have messed up my race slightly, but I was quite confident with the hards. I mean, they've carried me this far, and they are pretty worn out. Sadly, no DRS available. We didn't quite close the gap on Danny Rick for this straight, but we can catch him in the corners. We are much, much faster than him overall throughout the circuit, provided we keep it clean and don't mess up. We do mess it up around here at turn 12. This long right-hander into 13, much tighter right-hander to the back straight. So we can now go full race mode, try and hunt him down as best we can. See if we can't close the gap at least to a second on the last lap, maybe overtake him right here, right now. So let's do this. It was at this point I like really hunkered down. Open up the car to full. We get the call of the final lap of the race. We can see Leclerc's coming up alongside, so he had the DRS support, so we decide to go down the inside, and we can see Danny. We go nice and tight. We actually take that corner perfectly for the first time in ages around Bahrain. It's a track I'm not particularly good with. So now we push on forward, keep on pushing. Charge forward up the field. Going out into turn 4, we can still see Danny. We're not quite within that DRS range. We need to cut that second out as best we can. So we're now looking for the hot lap mode, but our tyres are giving out. You can see I'm constantly struggling to keep the car straight even with a controller. This was insanely difficult. We start using a lot of the battery power. Come down here into the tight turn 10. Do get the gap under, but sadly no DRS because we were still a second out from the detection zone. But it doesn't matter, we could go to Richmond because we've got well over 3/4 of a lap to go. So we can just keep on pushing. We can keep up with him in these last few corners. We might be able to catch him on the back straight, provided we don't mess up. And I think it was right there I messed up as I felt the car begin to squirm over the back edge. We do cut the corner, so that's my bound for exceeding track limits, but we do have Leclerc right on our tail. But might occasionally see him out the corner of the mirrors there. Take those final corners nice and tight, try and keep up, keep tight. We do get the DRS assistance, but it's not going to be enough as the checker flag drops, and it is going to be Danny Rick pole winning the race, but we come a nice tight second and nearly crash into him during our victory celebrations. I don't think that's ever happened in Formula 1. Would have been interesting if it had. But he's well deserving of driver of the day, having survived a near crash, and of course we push right on to the win. But that was a dang good result for the My Team. But clearly we need to up the AI even more, so when we come around to Vietnam next, the AI is going to be set to 70, and we'll see how the car does. But all in all, I thought I raced really well over this Grand Prix. And sadly, a lot of it was just me going for a Sunday drive. The majority of my overtakes were all quite happily everyone going in for their pit stop. Me going into pit early at the end of lap 4 seemed to have helped out in that regard.
Congratulations to the Renault team for their excellent win today.
But there we go with the champagne. And one day we shall sit on that top step. But we did get the best lap of the race as well, so we gained an extra driver's point, which is all too important. Jordan King also finishing 17th, which is rather nice. He doesn't quite outdo both Williams, but at least we beat a Williams, which is kind of key right now. In terms of the Drivers' Championship, thanks to that win, we are currently sitting 3rd and 5th overall in Constructors. So for an opening season, we are doing great. So be sure to like, favourite, subscribe and all that YouTube jazz, and we'll see you all next time for the Vietnam Grand Prix. Bye bye.
Thoughts? You gained a lot of positions during the race, didn't you? Everything went your way today. It looked like you had a really good strategy for the race. You really looked in control of your car out there. Your team must be thrilled. Appreciate your time.